Hey guys, today is an exciting day because today I get to share our first ever viewer submitted story with you. This is gonna be good. That's not a real fire I'm warming my hands over. Some time ago, I had invited my viewers to share their own stories about being on the spectrum as well because I'm limited in the fact that I can only share my experience with you when there are literally millions more out there. But not everyone has the time to make a YouTube channel to share them. Heck, I don't have time to make this YouTube channel. I don't even know how I'm doing this right now. Because of that, I wanted to offer my viewers free rental space on my channel to share a piece of their experiences. None of you are going to relate to everything I have to say, so my hope is that by adding more voices to the discussion, we'll begin feeling less and less alone. So without further ado, let's get into it. It starts out, "Hi Jennifer, thank you so much for your videos. It looks like you put a lot of effort into them and it shows. I'd really love for you to deliver loads of other people's stories as well, so I have one to share. Sorry, it's not funny, but hopefully relatable for some. When I was about 12, I began to notice that the other children would have conversations, which was a new idea to me at the time, but they must have been doing it for a while because I felt very suddenly left out. I would rehearse in my head how to have conversations instead of going to sleep, and then practice during the day until my peers seemed to, as best as I could tell, accept the behavior. Nowadays, the program that I run for a conversation is basically asking the other person about their interests and showing interest in what they have to say. I usually am genuinely interested because they have the experience of something that I never have. So I try to live their experience vicariously by asking them to describe what it's like in an effort to relate. People don't seem to mind the question carpet bombing, even if they secretly think it's odd. This works for one-on-one conversations. So they start out with their approach to one-on-one conversations and they get into their approach to group conversations a little further down in their email. But I feel like part of what this person is describing here is that difficulty in communication that many of us have. Some have described it as speaking a different language, but in most scenarios, there's that alien feeling we have in general over what most would consider the most basic and simplest of concepts, like conversations. So it looks like they discovered the art of scripting at an early age, as many of us do, as a coping mechanism to assimilate into these conventional social procedures. And I love the fact that they refer to this as running a program because that's honestly kind of what it feels like. We're over here gathering observational data and inputting code to generate a desired compatibility output, like running a neurotypical simulator or something. OP, maybe we should patent this idea. We could call it Neurotypical Simulator 2.0. I'll have my people get in touch with your people. And it's so interesting to me to hear someone else say that one of their tactics for participating in conversations is to ask the other person about their interests, because I myself have employed this exact technique. When I read this, I felt a gut punch of someone vocalizing something that I inherently do and may not have thought about bringing that up in any of my videos had this person not shared it. I recognized a while ago that people enjoy talking about themselves, and I realized it could be a win-win situation. Allowing other people to do the talking is an awesome filler that takes a lot of the pressure off of me. I mean, I don't even have to think about what to say. I can just live in my reactionary world where I simply ask follow-up questions to the material that they give me. But my intentions were by no means selfish. As this person goes on to mention, I really do have an authentic desire to make other people feel heard and cared about. So I spent many conversations asking people questions and following up those questions with more questions. But apparently my neurotypical simulator sucked because my husband wound up telling me one time that I come off like an interrogator when I do this. So OP, I might need you to send me some tips on how to come off less FBI agent and more non-threatening citizen for the next time I try to show interest in people's lives. And to be honest, listening to the experiences of others is like an additional PSYOPs information gathering to further understand the behaviors of neurotypicals. That is not helping to dispel that whole interrogator accusation. Anyway, this seems like such an innocuous concept, but it's honestly a technique that I've not only recognized, but have actually used. So glad to know I'm not the only one. See, this is why we're doing this. The last part of their email reads, "When there are 3 or more people, then I don't know who should talk next." Oh yes, the dreaded group conversation. I read somewhere that people can change their body posture or make a movement before interjecting, which seems to increase the chance that the other person will stop talking when interrupted. I've also noticed that when two people are trying to talk at the same time, that I can choose who continues talking by making eye contact with the person who's trying to talk but who hasn't had much airtime. I feel like they deserve to be listened to more because they speak less. When there are more people, I can't help but to listen to all the conversations at the same time, which makes it difficult to focus on what a particular individual is saying. Been there. I've learned to be quiet in such conversations because it makes me seem more charismatic than when rubbish comes tumbling out of my mouth that doesn't make any sense in context, perhaps because I've made too much of a leap from the subject at hand. I like how this is almost like the best way to not embarrass myself is to stay quiet because same. I've personally stopped going out as much because I'm like, people can't realize how weird I am if they never see me. And they end it with this. I'd like to believe that I'd rather be around machines, but I really do need other people to be happy. Thanks again. So, first of all, thank you for paving the way for others to share their stories too. It really made me happy to hear you say that you want to hear from others out there as well, because I think a lot of us do. There's this curious side of human nature that makes us interested in the lives of others. It's why reality TV and a lot of lifestyle vlogs have become so popular, especially in a world where everyone tries to make their lives look perfect in social media. Because there's a certain amount of comfort that we all take in knowing that others are imperfect human beings experiencing similar things as us at the end of the day. In the last part of this email, they really get into those observational studies of body language to help them overcome some of these social struggles. I mean, it seriously reads like someone writing a book report on human behaviors, only in this case, it's probably done as a survival tactic and not for extra credit in school. I find it interesting that they want to make sure that other people get airtime too, because I too have been in group situations where I feel the need to advocate for someone. I think this falls on my desire to root for the underdog because I know how that feels. Like, here's an example of that. Have you all ever been in that situation where someone is trying to talk and suddenly no one is paying attention to them? I have, and I will do my best to look at them to let them know I'm still listening because I feel bad for them. And one too many times, it's like they're still desperately hoping to regain the attention of their neurotypical peers, but eventually have to reluctantly concede to finishing their story with me because I really am the only one listening. Anyway, I digress. I don't know if feeling the need to stick up for the underdog is the motive for this person making sure other people get airtime too, but I know that's why I do stuff like that in social situations. And you're definitely not alone in trying to gauge turn taking in conversations. Luckily, I don't personally struggle with that, but I know a lot of people on the spectrum do. There's a lot of relatable information in this story about the adaptation and cover up for the so-called social deficits that many of us face on a daily basis. There is so much to say here about the complex 4D chess that many of us play just to participate in something as simple as conversations. None of this is stuff that neurotypicals have to consciously think about. They don't have to overthink body posturing, eye contact, and turn taking within a dialogue. They just instinctually know how to do this stuff. They aren't losing sleep because they're practicing in their heads how to have conversation. I think this also shows us just how skilled some of us can become at masking. And finally, I love how they ended this email by saying they'd rather be around machines, but that they really do need other people to be happy. Because it's a frustrating paradox that many of us can relate to. Machines are predictable and systematic. They can be coded to coincide with our routines and our expectations without any illogical pushback or emotions. We don't have to read complicated body language, and we don't have to try to tease out the hidden meanings behind their confusing outputs. But we really do need human connection at the same time. It's as essential to our mental health as eating and sleeping is to our survival, but it can feel exhausting and elusive when we feel so alien in a world that is meant for neurotypicals. So, I'll end it there. Thank you again to this OP for sharing their experience. I couldn't have asked for a better contribution to kick off our viewer-submitted story segment, and I really enjoyed reading it. If you'd like to share your own thoughts or stories too, I would love to hear from you. You can find out about what kind of content I'm looking for and instructions on how to submit one in the viewer-submitted stories tab on my website, neurodivergent.com. Bye for now! Mwah!